Coming here, I know how Slovakia is. You come here and you can do whatever you want. When I was 5 years old and I skipped fourth grade and I spoke no English, I had no friends. We didn't have much money. We slept in a little 1 bedroom apartment on a mattress on the ground for a few months, right? And then in someone's basement. You have to do it. You have to learn and adapt. And I guess when I was adapting at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, well, now it's easy when I'm 31 because I've been doing it for 20 years.
On our very first episode of Journey of a Smart Landlord, I'm talking with Sam Hudacek, a Marine veteran and real estate investor who came to the U.S. from Slovakia at the age of 10 years old with no English and now owns 10 doors across 3 different states, all self-managed remotely. We got into how his immigrant mindset shaped his work ethic and how he sees opportunity in the U.S., and how he keeps tenants happy enough to stay, in some cases, for 13 years. We also talk about his favorite tools, from time tracking and AI to a wild Subject 2 deal on his parents' condo. All that and more coming up next. Welcome, friends. My name is Brady. This is my co-host, Ebony, and today we are talking with Sam, originally hailing from Slovakia. I met Sam at BPCon recently. Sam, I loved your story, and I was like, I have to have you on the podcast. So welcome to the podcast, man.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited to dive into your story. Sam, let's kick it off, man. Let's get into it. How many doors do you have? How long have you been investing?
Yeah, so right now I have 10 doors, and I started it in June 2021. So coming up to about 5 years.
Nice. 10 doors. What did life look like before real estate investing for you?
Well, I was born in Europe. I was born in Slovakia, and I was 10 when I moved to the U.S. My parents put in for a green card, and we won it. And then next thing you know, we're moving to the U.S. So that was a little bit of a shock, but yeah, moved to Chicago and went through elementary school learning English because we came here with no English. Middle school, high school, then I eventually joined the Marine Corps. Got stationed in Hawaii, came back, came to Chicago, became a police officer in Chicago, and then got hired by the government, sent to South Dakota, and then that's when my real estate investing journey started.
Nice. Okay, I want to talk about that, but what's interesting, you got thrown into American elementary school without having learned the language yet?
Yeah,
It sounds rough.
that it was. And on top of that, I was in third grade in Slovakia, and I came to America, and I was like, all right, well, I'll learn the language, whatever. I'll go to fourth grade. Well, when my parents signed me up to go to the fourth grade, they're like, well, you're too old for fourth. You have to go to fifth. So I just skipped fourth. So I went from third in Slovakia to fifth in America. Didn't know the language. And I remember just first day of school, they said to turn the page to a certain page, and I just started looking over just to kind of like see where I'm turning the book, and
Oh my goodness.
and
Unreal.
that's how I met my 2 best friends back then. So I was just like cheating off their book because I had absolutely no idea what they were saying. But
Oh
yeah,
my
I mean, I got through it.
Oh my gosh, that is unreal. Well, we'll come back to that. I definitely, one of the reasons I brought you on the show is I wanted to talk about kind of the, at BPCon, we were talking about the immigrant mindset, and I want to talk about that. But Ebony, I'll kick it over to you.
Absolutely. So tell us, what's your end game? Why do you really invest?
Yeah, so coming over here from Europe, there isn't as many opportunities out there as there is here. I saw that out there. I go back home to Slovakia now, hopefully every other year, and I feel like coming to America, having all these opportunities, I feel like I don't want them wasted. And on top of that, I want to retire my family and then myself, because we've got this great opportunity to come to a country that gives you can essentially do whatever you want. And why waste it? Like, we didn't spend 2-3 years getting the green card and getting our citizenship and then selling everything over in Europe and then coming here with no connections, no language, and nothing. Why do all that just to live a normal 9-to-5 life and retire at 60? So the goal is to retire early, retire my family, retire myself, and live a good life.
So when you say family, do you have kids?
I don't. When I say family, that'd be my mom and my brother. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I have a sister. we are so close in age. She is my absolute everything. People say we're going to end up married, so I totally get that. Yeah. So I understand that you have properties in 3 different markets, right?
That's correct. Yep. Illinois,
Mhm.
South Dakota, and Virginia. No.
I have properties in West Virginia.
Oh, okay. So very
So
close neighbors.
absolutely. So how did you acquire all those properties, and do you have any favorite acquisition stories?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I got hired by the government, I was in Chicago. I was a police officer in Chicago, and then I
Mhm.
got a government job, and I got sent to South Dakota. I spent the last 3 or so years there, and then that's kind of when I started that real estate journey. I bought my first
Mhm.
duplex. Every single property I own, I've lived in. So I've used 4 VA loans
Oh.
because I was in the military, and then one subject to. The subject to was the most creative, I guess. I actually ended up
Cool.
buying that from my parents. My mom and dad owned it, and they wanted to move out, and they were splitting up, so they were living in different states. They wanted to get rid of it. And then I acquired it via subject to, and we can get into that too later if you want. More of a creative strategy, I'd say. But I think my favorite property is probably my first duplex. One, because when I first bought it, I had no idea what I was doing other than the
Mhm.
BP podcasts and YouTube and books. And then I was in Chicago when I purchased it in South Dakota. I knew I was moving to South Dakota. So I purchased it while I was still in Chicago and never did an inspection actually until later after I purchased it. Never met the tenants. It was fully leased up. Never met the seller. None of that. Never walked through it. I had my realtor walk through it. Closed on it. And I remember when I did close on it, I was like, all right, that's it. Like, now what? But
And that
I
was
just
the
learned it.
first one. That was the duplex.
That was my first duplex, correct? Yeah.
Holy cow!
So did
How'd you
you house
find it?
hack?
Yeah, yep,
Sorry.
yep, yep.
No, go ahead, Emmy.
No, I was curious because you said it was fully leased. So, house hacking, you had to kick them out.
Yes, legally. There's a misconception. A lot of people think that you can't buy a fully leased property with like FHA or VA loan because
Hmm.
there's a 2 month rule that you have to live it or move into it within 2 months. There's an exception up to a year if it's fully leased. Because I went to one lender and they told me they couldn't do it, but then so I just switched lenders and they said, yeah, we could do it as long as one of the leases is up and it's under a year. Once that lease is up, you're gonna have to move into that property. And both of the leases were expiring in about 8 months. So I knew I was like, okay, well, when I purchase it, I'll wait 8 months and then I'll just move into it. And I did. And the lender was fine with it.
I love how you were like, the lender said no, so I just asked another lender. It reminds me of
Yeah.
my wife and I. We built our house during the pandemic, and I had to call lender after lender. It was a self build. We built it, owner contractor loan, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
And I had probably legitimately 15 to 20 lenders like, no, nobody offers that. Nobody's going to do it. It's too high risk. Owner build loan is too high risk. I
Hmm.
ended up stumbling on a community bank in a Facebook group, and the guy was like, "Yeah, Benner Bank out of Oregon, like they'll do it, no problem. They have a program for it." I had so many 20-year bankers be like, "Don't even try,
Yeah.
just keep asking." I love
Yeah.
that.
No, I
Hmm.
mean, I think that's like kind of like the story of my whole portfolio because I feel like every property I've had problems where the lender or the appraiser or someone was giving me hard problems where they're like, oh, this can't be done or you can't do this and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, just go out and find another way. I mean, a recent quote I just heard a few months ago was when the door of opportunity closes, you go through the window. And I just kind of been living by it.
Uh-huh.
He's just been jumping out the window. I
Yeah,
love
it
that.
works.
Um, so a couple days ago, Sam, we were talking, and you told me that a few months ago was probably, maybe I have the timeline wrong, but you said a few months ago was probably one of the hardest seasons of your life. You were talking about kind of burning the candle at both ends, flipping one of your properties, doing remodels while working 50 hours a week. And then you said you were getting your pilot's license too in the middle of all that. Tell me about that season. I want to
Yeah,
know.
so yeah, this was actually I guess over a year ago now. It was
Mhm.
last October. This was my last. I was I bought a duplex, my second duplex in South Dakota. At this point, I've had a duplex, a condo, a fourplex, and then this was my second duplex and my ninth unit. And I closed on it in October. And right after that, or during that time, I found out that I was getting transferred to Virginia for work. So I closed on it with the VA loan. I was planning on moving in living there for a year, remodeling it, and then just moving out and doing it over again. As soon as I closed, I found out I'm going to Virginia. And on top of that, I've been working on my pilot's license for the past 2 years. So now I found out like, well, I'm leaving the state and I've been flying here for 2 years. I have my instructor. I know the plane. I know the airfield. It's hard to just transition, especially in DC where I live. The DC airspace is a whole different animal.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have to remodel this duplex. I have to get my pilot's license, and then I have to get everything ready to move to Virginia across the country. And in October, I use a time tracking app where I track all my hours. And yeah, I was averaging like 85 hours a week for a month and a half. But I got it all done. I got my license actually December 31st. I moved January 6th, and the property was finished like January 5th, and then it was rented out shortly after. So that was tough, but it paid off for sure.
That is a tight timeline. Okay, so I
It
got a
is.
couple questions in there. Like, how did you manage? Was it just survival mode because you knew it had to happen? It was short term, or did you have any magic tips? Like,
I think that's where I learned the magic tip is that you have to use a timeline, or not a timeline, a deadline. You have to put a deadline, because I noticed a lot of my projects were getting pushed further and further and further because I didn't have a deadline. Like if I was remodeling my fourplex but I had nowhere else to go and I could just live there for 2 years, then I could just take my time. But this one, I knew, like, I'm leaving this state and I'm not coming back, and I have to finish this because I've never, at that point, I haven't really invested out of state. I've already had my Chicago condo, but it's a condo. It's got a HOA. It's kind of easier to manage. This one, I knew that I have to get this done, or if I don't, I'm going to be paying contractors. I'm doing a lot of the stuff myself, so it's going to cost me way more money, way more hands-on from someone else, and I don't trust many contractors nowadays, so I like to do it myself. So I was like, set a deadline, and then you will get it done because you have no other option. Even if it's like a artificial deadline, just something. But then you will try to finish all that before that deadline.
instead of just as fast as possible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just heard a quote that said, a goal without a deadline is non-existent or something like that, because you'll never get it done if you don't have a deadline. You have
Absolutely.
to have a deadline for everything.
Absolutely, and that's where I
love that.
learned that, and ever since then, I've been just setting deadlines for most things.
Tell me, so another thing, my ears, I'll kick it over to you after this, Ebony. My ears lit up when you said time tracking app. I'm a ADHD guy all over the map, so I need like all the efficiency tools and alarms and all the things I can get to keep me on the rails. What's that like? What are you doing that for?
I started that last year, or 2 years ago on January 1st. It's called Habit Now. Now it's on Android. I'm not sure if it's on iPhone too. I think there's different variations. But I've been using that, and essentially I made a few categories. I have like anything that I consider productive, and I'll put sleep in there as well, so I can kind of track my sleep. But you have to input everything yourself. So I mean, if I read a book about real estate for an hour, I'm gonna put an hour worth of business in there. If I do a self-help book, I'll put an hour of that. If I work out, I'll put an hour and a half of that. And then at the end of every day, you kind of just review it. Like, okay, I've worked out for this much time. I've done this much business. I slept this much. And then when you do the math, you can also kind of see how much time you wasted, because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, I did great. I did an hour in business. I did 2 hours working out, and I did an hour, on aviation. Like I have that. That's a field. I flew for an hour because I was learning. And then I look, I'm like, well, what did I do for the past 8 hours? Like I still have 8 hours in a day that I've been doing nothing. And that's when I was like, holy crap, as much as I think I'm actually working, I'm not working as much as I could be working.
Yeah. What was the biggest epiphany, like first time you looked at the data?
Oh my God. After, it was kind of mind blowing. After the first month, I was like, I'm not doing as much as I think I am, even though I'm doing a lot compared to the standard person, I guess. But then at the end of the year, I calculated all of it, and I was averaging, it was like 10 and a half hours a day for 365 days, of productivity. Now, like I said, productivity is learning, doing something productive, right? Whether it's working out or doing aviation stuff, flying or whatnot, working. But yeah, that was huge. I was like, holy crap, I'm not actually doing that much. But after the year, and then this is coming up on the second year, so I'm kind of excited on January 1st to go back and like, how much have I done compared to the last year? And this helps me track the past year's performances and either hopefully try to do better next year.
I love that. I think it's really cool. I haven't done that yet, but I might, because I downloaded or I got a budgeting software recently,
Hmm.
Monarch. There's a bunch of them. I think they're mostly the same, but the first time I looked at like all my categories, I looked at like my coffee, food category. I was like,
Oh,
oh no,
oh
this
boy.
can't be real. You know, that gut moment we're like, oh no, this is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And so I'd imagine it's probably similar for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good. I would recommend everybody to do it because it makes you open your eyes like, holy crap, I'm actually wasting a lot of time or spending a lot of money or whatever you're using it for.
But
Interesting.
Sam, okay, so I'm in my 40s now and I am a woman, so I am totally different from you, but I have to stop you. What is your self-care? You have to be like relaxing so that you can be productive those other times. You sound like you just want to go, 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 go.
But yes, that is true. I work a lot, but that is my self-care a lot of times. Like I need to do stuff or I get bored, right? My mom knows this. Like she's always like, "Oh, wow, you're doing this now. You're trying to become a pilot. You're investing in real estate. You're doing this and that." And I was like, "Yeah, because I'm bored." But no, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I'll if I do a long day, whatever, I work 14, 16
Hmm.
hours, then I'll watch, a Netflix or whatever, or go out to the pool and read a book or something. But
Okay.
I don't know. I just, especially now, like this many years into it, I don't like even allow myself to relax that much because I feel like I'm like wasting time. But for me, working is relaxing in a way.
Okay.
I enjoy it now. I force myself to enjoy working because I do things that I love. Um,
I get it.
You're
I'm a
preaching to
mom
the
and I'm a
choir.
Taurus, so I'm
yeah,
just trying to take care of you.
yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm the same way. I get antsy. If I sit around for too long, I get antsy. I get bored.
Yeah. And
Um,
obviously this
okay,
is much easier when you don't have a kids and a wife. So I'm trying to take advantage of that time now because I know as soon as I have a wife
yeah.
and kids, it's gonna slow down.
Okay, so
Yeah.
at BPCon, we got to talking, and I asked you. I said, "Is the immigrant advantage a real thing?" I asked you that, and I bring that up because I want to know what your philosophy is on like work ethic, how you stay motivated, and really like how you see opportunity, like you were talking about earlier, coming to America from Slovakia.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like how I mentioned earlier, is coming here. I know how Slovakia is. It's a small country. It's about 5 million people, and it's great. It's definitely not one of the worst countries. It's definitely not one of the best countries, but I can see how it is there compared to here. Like you come here and you can do whatever you want. You can start a business. You can own this. You can own that. You can buy it. You can do whatever you want as long as you work hard enough. Yeah, there might be some luck, but at the end of the day, it's just work, right? So I think learning to adapt was another thing. Is when I was 5 years old and I skipped fourth grade and I spoke no English. I had no friends. We didn't have much money. We slept in a little 1 bedroom apartment on a mattress on the ground for a
Mm.
few months, right? And then in someone's basement. Um, you have to do it. You have to learn to adapt. And I
Huh.
guess when I was adapting at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, well, now it's easy when I'm 31 because I've been
Mhm.
doing it for 20 years. So that ability for sure. And it's true. I mean, I meet a lot of immigrants and they say the same thing. It's just when you know the opportunities that you can get here compared to back home, like why not take advantage? Because you don't want to miss out on those, especially when you get the
Mm.
chance to take them.
Mhm. So, what's one of the wildest stories so far? Maybe like a deal or a tenant horror story.
Yeah, well, with the tenant horror story, funny enough, when I bought my first duplex, like I said, it was already rented out, and then I lived in it, and then I moved out of it and bought a fourplex. With the VA loan, I moved out of the duplex, moved into the fourplex, and rinse and repeat. At that time, my one of my duplex tenants was there for like 13 years. I still have him. He's one of the best tenants that probably going on 15 years now. And then the unit I moved out of was just getting finished up to get ready to rent. And then the fourplex I just bought that I just moved into was pretty much ready to rent. So I started doing my first showing. I haven't done a showing before because the other duplex had already been rented. In my very first showing in this entire business, I met a tenant. I was standing outside and I have a parking lot next to my fourplex. It's just a standard like cookie cutter fourplex, two on the bottom, two on top, and then just a mini parking lot to the right. I told her to just park in the lot and just walk up. So I saw her car. She pulls in the neighbor's parking lot. So I call her. I said, "Hey, this is the wrong lot. Pull into mine." She pulls into the parking lot and then drives onto the grass, goes through my sidewalk and pulls up right at the front door, like in her Charger or something, like all four wheels on all grass, over the sidewalk, over like shrub, like flowers and stuff. I was like, stop, stop. She gets out. She's like, what? I was like, there's a parking lot. You drove through it. Like, you gotta park in the parking lot. She backs it up, goes into the parking lot. This is my first showing ever. I was like, oh my God, this is how real estate's gonna go. And then so I take her upstairs to the unit, and she's like just complaining. She's like, oh, why is the rent so high? Mind you, the rent was already below market, because that is one of my strategies, is like a little bit below market rent, so that I can actually get tenants quickly. And she's like, why is the rent so high? And why is this carpet this color? And she's like, how do I collect rent? And I said, oh, we use RentRedi. It's automatic collection. You don't have to worry about it. It'll just get withdrawn on your bank account. She's like, and then she said, what if I don't have the money? What if I'm late? How is it going to automatically collect? I was like, you shouldn't be late in the first place. But I was like, well, then there'll be a late fee, blah, blah, blah. But she asked all the wrong questions. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Then she got in her car and left. And then she just blew up my phone for like a month, like sending me like, please let me in. Please let me stay there. She sent me like photos of all the documents and whatnot. And I just couldn't believe that she drove through my parking lot and parked on top of my grass, driving through. I mean, it was insane. So that was the first time I ever showed a unit, and I was like, I don't know how this
Did she get
real
the
estate
unit?
career. Absolutely not.
I was gonna say, oh my goodness.
Absolutely not. She was nice in person, but yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. So tell me, what's something not enough landlords are talking about but should be?
I think self-managing. A lot of new landlords, they stress about trying to hire a company, or how can I manage out of state. And like right now I have three different states and 10 units throughout those 3 states, and I haven't hired a property management company yet because I don't trust most of them. They're going to charge you 10 to 12% on property management and take fees, upfront fees, tenant turnover fees, and at the end of the day, they make the most money when you turn over a tenant. But I feel like you can handle it yourself. So I think there's a big misconception that you need to have a property management company when you're renting from out of state or managing from out of state. But I think that's not completely true, because I'm doing it right now and it works fine. All you just need is a good team, a good boots on the ground, have someone that actually you trust and know that can handle your property management from that specific state. And then I still handle the books. So like RentRedi makes it super easy to do the rent collection, to do the background checks and all that stuff. If you run it like a business, then it works. A lot of people treat real estate as a hobby, and they're renting to their family or friends. They don't have a lease. Or I always ask, hey, did you call the reference? Like, did you call the landlord? Did you call their employer? Did you call the previous landlord? Did you call the other references? And they know, oh, I didn't sign a lease. I didn't call these people. I didn't do the background check. And now they're going through an eviction. And so I think that's the biggest thing. And I've been in it for, like I said, 4.5, 5 years. And I have, between those 10 units, I've only had 3 turnovers. And that's one bought a house, the other one moved out of state. And then the third one was like a mini horror story, nothing crazy, but I just never renewed her lease because she was a little high maintenance and kind of broke some things, but nothing major.
That's fantastic. That's some long stays.
Yeah, it is. But
You got to keep them happy.
Just know you're preaching to the choir. I self-managed too from out of state using RentRedi too. So I had a property manager, and she was robbing me blind.
Oh boy.
Robbing me blind. So trust me, I don't trust them either. The best thing to do is to self-manage.
Yeah, I'm sure when you got rid of them, you realize it's not that hard to do yourself, right?
Absolutely not. And before I got rid of her, I was paying a portion of the mortgage out of my pocket. It's a duplex too. And when I fired her, it's now cash flowing $650 a month. And I'm trying to get more properties. I want to be just like you, Sam.
Let's partner.
We should.
Sounds like you're killing it.
Ebony, how much was the property manager?
She was charging me, it was a duplex, so she was charging me 10% on both sides. It turned every freaking year because they keep that first month's rent and then you get the deposit. And I promise you, I'm like, why is these people just moved in? Why are they already moving? It was turning because that's how they make their money. And then when I finally called, I'm sorry, this is not about me, but when I finally called my tenants when I was taking over, there were maintenance requests I was paying for that never ever happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because if you're out of state, it's like they see you coming. You can't come and look at the property, and they take advantage of it.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you got rid of them because that sounds terrible.
That's wild. Okay, so we'll dive deeper into this. You got a 10-minute tactic coming up in just a couple minutes. We'll dive deeper into self-managing and a couple other tips. I want to wrap up your journey real quick, Sam. What do you think the future holds for your real estate journey? Are you going to scale the portfolio huge? You're going to keep it where it's at? What are you doing?
Yeah. I think growth next year will be the theme for 2026. I'm just trying to get on like Grant Cardone status. I want to get up to the 1,000 doors, and it's not just about
Yeah.
doors, but I feel like I can do it. Why
Mhm.
not try? Like, I feel like I'm way behind. I mean, it took 4.5 years to get 10 doors, but on the grand scheme of things, like that's pretty well. But I feel like I should
Yeah.
be at 50 or 100. But I think growth, partnerships. I'm kind of in the process of trying to get a dual citizenship with Slovakia and build a home out there.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, short-term rentals, medium-term rentals, and then maybe some type of a spin-off company like a property management company or an app or something like that. Might be in the
Interesting.
future.
The short term and medium term just for more cash flow.
Yeah, because I recently converted one of my fourplex units. Everything's a long term currently, well, up until this one, and I transitioned to a medium term rental. And I mean, it was
Mhm.
long term. It was renting for 800. I had four of these units, obviously in the fourplex. It was renting for 800, and now medium term rental is renting for 1,400. And I mean, I spent
Holy
eight
cow.
thousand dollars to furnish it, and now it rents for $600 more. So in like 2 years, the furniture's paid for itself. Um, or
Yeah,
and it
that's
works great.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Huh. Where I was actually just talking this week with a guy who has a large single family portfolio and has switched to doing a lot of midterm rentals. So I'm having him on for a webinar pretty soon to talk about like, okay, how can people test the waters with this? Is it worth the time? Is it worth the squeeze? It sounds like it is for most people I talk to.
Yeah, I think I called all the hospitals in town, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota is where I invest. It's a big hospital-driven town. So call the hospitals, call the recruiters, walk into the hospitals, talk to other investors. Hey, are there traveling nurses? That's kind of what I focus on. Like, are traveling nurses coming here for contracts? How long are their contracts? I interviewed traveling nurses, and then pretty much got the cheat code, all the cheat codes from them. Like, hey, this is how long our
And
contracts are. This is how often we extend. Our stipend is this. Blah 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 blah. And then I just kind of looked at it. I was like, okay, well, this is what my pricing could be. My property's next to a hospital, so it's going to work, and it's working pretty well.
that's awesome, man. That's good to hear. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing your story with us. We're gonna hop into the 10-minute tactic here. Before we do, Ebony has a smart landlord tip for everyone listening.
The worst way to keep track of expenses for your rentals is cramming all your receipts into a junk drawer. The best way is to snap a pic inside the RentRedi app, have our AI categorize your expenses, create your profit and loss, and schedule E for you. Make sure you try out our new expense tracking on our mobile app or the rentredi.com.
Nice. I love it. And Sam is sold. He's like, all right, I'm bringing it all over to
Oh,
Rent Ready now.
been been using it for 5 years.
All right, Sam, I'm going to give you the spotlight for a little bit, but I want to hear about your self-managing out of state. You got all these different units. I want to hear some of the tactics, your tools, your systems for that, and maybe a little bit about how you're using AI as well. What do you got for us, man?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, starting with a good team, I've lived in every property I've bought, purchased, and in every state I've lived or invested in. Having a good team on the ground is essential because shout out to Ben and Ayed, my property managers. They do a great job. They are kind of the heart of the operation. They're doing everything hands on, and then I'm still using RentRedi to do the screenings and get my tenants because I'm doing what I can from out of state, which there's a lot you can do. And then whatever needs to be done, if it's do a showing or give keys or do a minor repair, then my property manager does it. I trust them. Ben's a real estate investor that I met a few years ago. Ayed's one of my best friends from high school, and he wants to get into real estate. So I trust both of those people, and they do great. I going into AI at the same time. I use ChatGPT to create a. I'm not good with Excel whatsoever, so ChatGPT just kind of creates all my spreadsheets. uh, it made one that I named the property manager tracker, management tracker, and essentially is just you hit the property address or the date, the property address, the property manager. So like Ben puts his name in there and then puts what he worked on, what unit he worked on, how long he worked on it, and then if he's been paid for it. And then he just continues down the line and starts filling that info in. And then every 2 weeks or whatever, I'll go in there. I'll kind of see, okay, he mowed the grass. He went and changed locks. He did a showing. I owe him this much. He gets paid an hourly rate. and then the spreadsheet automatically just calculates how many hours are unpaid. Let's just say it's 30 or whatever. Then I'll send him whatever it is, a few $100, and he gets paid, and he just continues to do that. While I'm doing all the back end stuff, I'm doing the payment stuff, leases, and all that. But like I said, when you have 3 turnovers, there isn't many leases. I mean, if you're just re-signing a lease, but you're not doing showings and you're not doing it's the same lease. All you do is just change the date or something.
What are some of the things you're doing to keep tenants happy too?
Yeah, so kind of how I mentioned earlier, I try to price the rents a little bit lower than market rent, or definitely not above, but slightly below market rent so that it attracts more people. And like if the rent's 800 and I'm getting it at 760, like it's not outrageous. I'm not losing that much money. But then people re-sign. I haven't done any rent raises to this date. I will obviously eventually. I would catch up with market rents, but like I haven't raised the rent in 5 years for anybody, and they stay. And the biggest thing is just responsiveness. Like if a tenant says, "Hey, my AC's out," like I will text them, or my property manager will text them and like, "Hey, we got somebody on the way, scheduled tomorrow." Like that's all it is just respond. Like, and obviously, like if I can't, my manager will do it, or someone else. Like I kind of have backups, but being responsive and just attentive, they appreciate getting things fixed. I always look at it this way: like if I live in a big apartment complex and I'm renting it out, and I submit a maintenance request, like what happens? Like what processes does it go through? I lived in a pretty nice apartment in Northern Virginia, and I kind of looked how their system worked, and it was just an app. You just put in, "Hey, my washer's broken," and in like 30 minutes somebody was up there fixing it. And I was like, dang, like, that's nice. I mean, I was paying for it. But I try to meet that standard, and tenants appreciate it, and so would I loved it. Like when I can get things fixed day of, that's amazing, right? If it's an emergency, it's right away. If it's something that can wait till tomorrow, sure. But yeah, fix things quickly and often, and on top of that, always just have your properties fully ready before you rent them out. Like before I left South Dakota, I wanted to make sure everything's fixed. If there's something that's probably going to get broken, like I'm not going to replace a whole AC unit because it's old, but if there's a sink that's got a slight leak, like don't leave it, just fix it. If there's a toilet that's 20 years old and it's probably going to fall apart soon, just put in a new toilet. I'm not saying spend a lot of money, but at the same time, if you do all this stuff prior to renting it out, then you might not hear from the tenant for the first year because everything's already fixed.
Yeah, especially being out of state, like you need more peace of mind, Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just using AI, like I said, like for people that aren't using AI in investing right now, like you're missing out. Like ChatGPT is one of the best tools ever. Pay the $20 a month. You don't have to, but it's significantly better. And you can create forms. You can have it scrape Zillow and Redfin and all these listing sites, and have it send you emails directly with like for sale by owners properties, or it can directly respond to tenants on Facebook. Like if you list a property on Facebook, you can use ChatGPT and then other like Zapier and all those other websites that you connect the AI to your Facebook, and it responds to someone asking, "Hey, is this property available?" And they'll say, "Yes, it is." And then it'll pull info from your listing. So if they ask, "How many bedrooms does it have?" It says it has 4 bedrooms, blah, blah, blah. So you don't have to sit there and respond to every single response and every single lead. The AI filters through, and then whatever it can answer. And I'm kind of in the process of setting this up. So
yeah,
I don't have it fully set up, but it has the capabilities. It will just filter through all those things, and then eventually you'll just get great leads. Like instead of having 100 Facebook responses, you get 10 really good ones, and then one of them's probably a tenant. I would say 60% of my units are filled from tenants from Facebook.
Interesting. I've heard that, Facebook can just be like a lot lower quality and a lot more time vetting, but it sounds like you're getting rid of a lot of the vetting process or speeding it up.
Yeah.
Who told you that? That's where I get my tenants from too. I'm nosy. I like to go look on their pages.
I'm sworn to secrecy. I've heard that from a couple people. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah,
that works great. I mean, that's another thing that people should use is go to their page and like a Facebook page. Look at your potential tenant and just scroll through their social media. You look at the photos, you look at their status updates and all this stuff, and you're like, if he's standing there, holding 2 guns and he's got drugs in the background, it's probably not going to be a great tenant.
That's my guy.
It's probably going to be an eviction.
Tell me about the Zillow scraper. So like what you were talking about replying to Facebook conversations, I'm tracking with you there. Like there's a way to connect ChatGPT to other apps. I
Mhm.
haven't done what you're saying, but I know it's possible. What about the Zillow scraper? Is that pretty complicated or is it just a simple prompt?
And like I said, I haven't fully set it up yet, but I've been messing around with it. I know a lot of people that have it done. Yeah, I use Zapier, what I was using, and then different AI agents where you just connect them all, and then like you can use PropStream or Batch Leads or all these other sites that you can get off market properties, and then essentially it'll just scrape, like for example, for sale by owner, all the properties that pop up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota between the past 10 days that are for sale by owner. Then it will scrape those and then it will email them to you directly. Or it, and then you could even set it up where before it emails them to you, it will rank them individually on a whatever scale you want. Like, hey, this is this price. The rent is likely this. Blah 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 blah. It's a little more complicated after you start adding all those things into it. It's definitely possible. Like I said, I'm kind of halfway through doing it.
Yeah.
But knowing that it has that capability, that's where I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna explore that, and it's only gonna get better. And AI is not free, even if you're paying a few bucks a month, but it will continue to do it forever. It's free labor, right? Like it's just 24/7 for a few bucks.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate that tactic. Anything else you want to mention? If not, I want to do a quick little fire round that I did not prepare you for.
Oh boy.
All right, here we go. It's a book that changed your life, and tell me about the problem that it solved. And it cannot be Rich Dad Poor Dad
Oh, come on.
or Think and
I
Grow
was
Rich.
just about to come out of my mouth. Maybe Psychology of Money. I forgot who wrote that one. Otherwise, it would be Multi-Family Millionaire by Brandon Turner, the volume one.
Okay,
Multi-Family
yeah.
Millionaire, I believe. Yes. That one, I feel like that one just had a lot of info combined into one. That's one of the ones I recommend after Rich Dad Poor Dad. Um, it had all the formulas on real estate investing, right? The cash flow, the cash on cash, and whatnot. And then it told you about tax advantages and how to property manage, how to acquire properties, just everything all in one. I feel like, and once I read that, I felt like, okay, I could probably do this. Other than Rich Dad Poor Dad, of course, because that was the first one, but it's kind of cheating saying that
Nice.
one.
Well, I won't deduct any points for you mentioning it. That's okay. I'll let Ebony take the next two questions, and then remind me to circle back to the tax thing because I want to cover that before we wrap.
Mhm.
So what's your hot take on the real estate market or economy right now?
Oh man, that's probably like my weakest subject. I feel like I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm just buying. For me, for me, there's never, and I didn't. I mean, I lived through 2008, but I was in middle school, still learning how to speak
Mm-hmm.
English. So it's like, I don't even know what happened, right? I kind of wish I lived through it as an investor because I would know where what happened and where this economy is heading. Um, I I don't know where we're going. I'm hoping that the rates are going to go lower. But that's why I'm focusing on off-market deals. And for me, like I don't wait to buy ever. Like I've never was like, oh, I'm not going to buy this property because the market's going to dip. Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't care because I plan to long-term hold everything. And at the end of the day, even if you buy in 2009 and you hold something and you sell it in 2020, it will make you money. Just don't buy bad
Yep.
deals. But if you manage it right, you do it the correct way, it will work out as long as you hold it long enough.
Absolutely. So what's your advice for someone who wants to be where you are? Somebody like me.
Move to Slovakia and come back over at 10 years old.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I was gonna say just start. I mean, you already started though, So for people that are worried or scared to buy the first one, it's like just do it because don't overanalyze everything. I don't know how many times I've talked to friends and family, and I mean, probably upwards of 100 plus at this point, where they're like, "Hey, come sit down and tell them to talk to me about real estate," and they want to get all the info. It's pretty much the same stuff I'm saying here.
Mm-hmm.
And I sit down for an hour and I tell them and I said, okay, next time we talk in a month or even in 6 months, like do something, buy a book or do something, search Zillow or something. And then we talk and then it's like, oh yeah, I'm waiting for the right time. And then 2 years later, it's like, oh, I'm almost there. I want to get married. I want to buy this and that. I'm like, dude, you're gonna like 20 years are gonna pass by and you're gonna continue saying. So
Yep.
I would say 1% of the people I had this conversation with actually go out and do something. So just start. Like, don't buy a bad deal, but do your research and just go start call. You can cold call. Like you can cold call anyone, and if you fail, you fail, but you'll get better at it, and you can analyze a deal and continue to do it. If you suck at it, you'll just get better. Like at the end of the day, I still don't even know what I'm doing, and I got 10 units, and they're doing great. So
I love that, man. Okay, before we wrap up real quick, tax breaks. My ears perked up when you said that. What are you
yeah,
doing?
I really got into taxes. I didn't understand them before real estate, and come tax season, I was always like, oh, I got to do my taxes. I don't even know what I'm doing. I was using TurboTax, right? And once I read those 2 tax books from Bigger Pockets, and then I started to kind of realize like, okay, this tax game, this is where you actually save money. Like it's not how much money you're making, but it's how much you're keeping, right? Because you're spending a
True.
lot of money, or the government's taking a lot of money from you away. And that's when I realized like I got to learn the tax codes. So just simple stuff like you will get an automatic deduction from depreciation if you buy a duplex. Take the value of your property minus the land, divide that by 27 and a half years. Let's just say it's $10,000 a month or a year. That's $10,000 automatic deduction, and you will get that for the next 27 and a half years automatic. You don't, it's a loss on paper, but it's not an actual loss, and you get to deduct that. You get to offset your income. Any tools you buy, any laptop, or like any laptop, like I was going to say, this laptop I bought for work, it's a write-off. Any tools, any furniture to place into your MTR, or even trips, work trips, like when I went to BPCon, right? You can, as long as you sandwich that trip, sandwich meaning it's the whole trip is 50% of a business, or it's 50% business, then you can write it off. You can write off your flight, your hotel, the food, um, or you might be able to write off the whole trip as long as you do it right. But I don't remember the last time I went on a trip that was like personal that wasn't a write-off, because I don't even go on personal trips. I'll just go to BPCon, or I'll go to a mastermind, and then I'll just do stuff in between. I'll pick a day and I'll do personal stuff. I won't write off those things, but the hotel prior to that and after that and the flight is all tax write-off. So just small things, and then you can make 100,000 a year in real estate profits and not get taxed on any of them, because you just offset that with all these write-offs you've been doing.
Yeah. Anything you got, Ebony, before we wrap it up?
We didn't get on how he got the property from his mom with the subject to thing.
Oh yeah. The sub 2.
Okay, so this one's the one in Chicago. I grew up in it. I lived in it about 10 years. And then eventually my parents were splitting up, and they were gonna just move to different states. They want to get rid of it. My mom, they were both joint owners. My mom wanted to just get it off her name. She didn't care for any profits. She just wanted to get it removed from her name because she was on it with my dad. My dad tried to sell it without her permission, and went and got under contract and a cash offer. So the property, he got it for like 145. He got under contract $145,000 cash offer from some buyer, and he told me, he's like, "Hey, I'm selling the condo." And I said, "How are you doing that?" My mom's got to write off, or she's got to write off on this, and he's like, "No, she doesn't." I was like, "All right, that's not how that works." I called my mom. Turns out that like she had no idea. She's like, "Yeah, I definitely didn't agree to this." So I called my dad. I was like, "Hey, how'd you get under contract?" He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go through it. Don't worry about it." So I found the attorney that he's using, and I called her, and I said, "Hey, you're not gonna be able to sell this. It's not a valid contract. You guys are under a fraudulent contract, and it's come closing. This isn't gonna work." Like my mom never signed off on it. She never even signed it. Long story short, it turns out my dad used DocuSign and somehow like forged signatures or something on my mom's side. That's how they got under contract. But obviously, come closing, you would have to have a notary or do it in person. That wouldn't have worked. But he was under contract, so I told him, I was like, "Hey, I'll buy it from you. I'll give you." His share was gonna be $20,000. I said, "I'll buy it from you. I'll give you 20,000. Like you're not gonna be able to sell it without my mom. So if you do sell it with her, the only way you're gonna get 20 grand because that's the split." He's like, "No." I was like, "All right, whatever." So I talked to the attorney. They're like, "We're gonna go through with it." Then the attorney calls my mom. She checks the contract, and she calls me back, and she's like, "Oh, well, it turns out you're correct. We're gonna have to void this contract." And I was like, "I know." Then I gave my dad the ultimatum. I said, "Hey, I mean, you can either keep it and deal with my mom, or you just sell it to me and I'll give you 20 grand. Then eventually it worked out, and I paid him 20 grand, and we did a sub 2. I hired a title company in Illinois, and the bank, obviously the way subject to works, for the listeners, is it's subject to the existing mortgage, so the mortgage stays in place. It's not an assumable loan. The mortgage company actually doesn't even know about it. They just, mortgage stays in place, you acquire the property and start paying the mortgage, continue to pay the mortgage under the original seller's name. The weird thing is it's a 40-year adjustable loan from 2005. So it's 20 years in and it's only halfway through, and I'm like, okay. And it's adjustable, so I bought it for the rate was at 4.5, then it jumped to 6.5, and then like 8.5. Now it jumped back down to like 6.8, and I'm hoping that it jumps back down to like 5.9. I don't know if it will. But yeah, 40-year adjustable from 2005. I was like, I didn't even know this is a thing. Yeah, and then I don't think there was anything to do differently. What I did learn is the way the attorney treated it. She was very like disrespectful, and she just saw me as like a inexperienced investor. She's like, "You can't do this. We're gonna close." Blah blah blah. And then 2 days later, she called me back, and she realized that they have a voided contract. So what I did learn is not every professional is a professional in real estate. Be careful who you work with. Just because they have a title, if they're an attorney or appraiser or inspector, doesn't actually know what they're doing. And granted, I still don't know what I'm doing, but it worked out.
That was a wild story.
Yeah, that is. Well, I was trying to keep track. I'm like, oh my goodness, he's voided the contract.
It was weird, but it worked out.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. Thank you so much for the conversation. We're so honored to have you as a customer. Yeah, I think it's really inspiring. I feel a little bit more motivated after this. Like, man, I could spend my time a little wiser. I could take a little bit more action. So thank you, man.
But just remember, you're married. You don't want your wife to give you crap for saying you're not spending the right time in the right places.
Yeah, I'll give her access to the time tracker and say, okay, how am I doing, babe?
There you go. Yeah. Might be the safest option.
Cool. Well, thank you again, Sam. Appreciate you having on. Love your story, man. Anybody listening, watching, if you're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, leave us a review, would you? It helps other people discover the show. And if you enjoyed this, let us know. Share with a friend. Comment on our social media. But thanks again for listening, and we will see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.